What up guys, Nick from What Up MC here, and I just got back from Chicago. I had a lot of fun over the weekend at Go Fest, and I was just about to get started on editing all the videos of all the stuff that happened there. But I wanted to make this quick video first, just to talk about how to properly use the new legendary Pokemon Lugia and Articuno that are now in the game, since a lot of people are going to be wanting to use them in gym battles and in raids, and I had a lot of experience using them and battling against them over the weekend, and I saw a lot of people using them in not so great ways. So yeah, let's talk about how to properly use these Pokemon in gym battles and in raid battles. And it's worth mentioning that out of all the 5 legendary birds that Niantic could have released, they actually released 2 of the most defensive birds out of all the ones that are available currently in the game, which is kind of ironic since you can't place them to be defenders in gyms. That being said, even though they aren't the strongest attackers, they still have some pretty good uses, so I'd recommend watching this video before you spend your Stardust maxing them out like I did. Now let's get started with one of my favorite legendary Pokemon, Lugia, and it is a Psychic and Flying type, so its best movesets are either going to be Extra Sensory and Future Sight or Extra Sensory and Sky Attack. Now with those movesets in mind for high level raids like level 3s, 4s, and 5s, you're going to want to be using it against Machamp and Venusaur, and that's pretty much it. Also, if you care about doing lower level raids, then Weezing and Muck, it also works for those. But like I mentioned earlier, Lugia is a really defensive Pokemon, so usually what you want to worry about during raid battles is getting enough damage to actually kill the Pokemon before the time limit. So you're going to have some better options there if you're looking for more damage, like Espeon with pretty much any moveset, Alakazam with pretty much any moveset that's all psychic type, and even Exeggutor with all psychic movesets, and even Kadabra will do more damage than Lugia. So for raid battles where you're kind of worried about having enough damage to actually take it down, I would recommend using those Pokemon before Lugia, but Lugia is actually still a pretty good Pokemon to put as the last one in your roster when you're going into the raid. Now there is currently a bug in the game where if your Pokemon all faint right before the raid battle ends and then the raid boss dies right before you're able to get back in, sometimes your game will crash or you won't be able to access the you win screen to see all your rewards, and then you won't be able to get to the catch screen to catch the raid boss. Now to avoid something like this happening to you, it would be useful to put Lugia as the last Pokemon in your roster, just because it is such a tanky Pokemon, and having it in battle will still be dealing super effective damage, but you're a lot less likely to lose your Pokemon than if you were to be using like a glass cannon like Espeon and Alakazam. So having Lugia as the last Pokemon in your party is definitely a viable option to avoid getting that bug to happen to you. Like I mentioned before, for battling against Machamps and Venusaurs, Lugia really is great as a tank because all of Machamp's fighting moves will deal 4 times reduced damage, so that's only like half the damage to you as Lugia because it's a Psychic and Flying type, and for Venusaur it resists all of its grass moves, so it will be doing reduced damage to your Lugia. Now for raid bosses that you would want to avoid, you definitely want to avoid Tyranitar since that's listed as one of the counters to Lugia. I saw a lot of people actually using their Lugias against Tyranitars, so don't do that. And you wouldn't want to use Lugia against Articuno because Articuno learns only Ice-type moves, meaning every single move Articuno uses will be super effective against Lugia. So now let's get to what you'd want to use Articuno against in raid battles. So it only ever learns one quick move, it'll only ever get Frost Breath, and for its charge moves it gets Blizzard, Ice Beam, and Icy Wind. So Blizzard is going to be your best bet there, and Ice Beam is a pretty close second. So you're most likely going to be using this against raid bosses that take super effective damage from Ice-type moves, which in terms of the higher level raid bosses would only be Venusaur and Lugia. It's worth mentioning that it does do super effective damage to Rhydon, but you run the risk of getting smacked by a Stone Edge, which would pretty much wipe out your Articuno. So against Venusaur, Articuno would be pretty good because Venusaur takes super effective damage from all of Articuno's attacks, and Articuno also resists all of Venusaur's grass type attacks, and against Lugia, since it is a flying type, Articuno would deal super effective damage to it. But Articuno does have the same sort of problems as Lugia. It is a very defensive Pokemon, so in terms of ice type damage, it will be outclassed by Pokemon like Jinx with Frost Breath and Avalanche, Cloyster with Frost Breath and Avalanche, and against Venusaur, it will be outclassed by even other types of Pokemon like Flareon with pretty much any fire moveset, Arcanine and Charizard with pretty much every fire moveset, and against Lugia, it is also outclassed by Pokemon like Tyranitar with Bite and Stone Edge, or Golem with Rock Throw and Stone Edge. But same deal with Lugia. If you want to avoid that bug where you don't get your Pokemon revived in time to be there when the raid boss dies, it is a good Pokemon to put in last to avoid that happening. So if you don't do raids with too many people that often, I'd recommend spending your Stardust on other Pokemon that do more damage. But if you're not that desperate for damage and you think it's really cool to have high CP legendary Pokemon, then go ahead, use your Stardust on them. Personally, looking back on it, I may not have maxed this Lugia out all the way, since it did take probably close to like 200,000 Stardust and like a lot of my rare candy. But I do think that it's still cool having it being the first Pokemon there on my list. But yeah, I'm going to have to be saving up my Stardust for when the next legendary Pokemon come out, because I am definitely going to be investing some Stardust into those, because those are going to be some great attackers. But yeah, I gotta get back to editing my videos from GoFest. So if you guys found this video informative, then don't forget to leave a like and let me know in the comments down below how many Lugias and Articunos you have got so far and what you have been using them for. And if you want to see more videos like this and the videos from GoFest when I get around to posting them, then hit the subscribe button down below. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.